What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they dropped a bit of a bombshell on us very late last night, interested in an NFL draft quarterback that has taken the internet and really the sports world by storm over the last 24 hours. We're going to dive into our thoughts there and when the Pittsburgh Steelers would consider adding a quarterback, because yesterday, where they would consider it might be different from where they'll consider it today. Meanwhile, Patrick Peterson is a hot topic of conversation. Mike Tomlin addressed him. He recently addressed when he believes he will sign with the team, which could be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But there's another name out there that the Steelers have some interest in that I think we need to talk about that I think is very fascinating and could bring some potential to this roster. And, you know, we'll dive into a couple other topics: wide receiver, offensive line, NFL draft, as usual. I'm still here in Florida. I leave tonight. I won't lie to you. I'm very, very sad that I'm leaving. But at the same time, I miss the cats. I guess I miss my fiance too, but I miss the cats a lot. You know?
Yeah.
How you feeling,
If we're
my
going to
friend?
power rank, it goes cats, cat number 2, cat number 3, cat number 4.
Oh,
then
no doubt.
Jillian is right up there too.
Yeah, she's very close, but Fitzgerald, man. Nobody beats Fitzgerald. So how you feeling, my friend? How's Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh's great. I'm actually very excited about this episode. The first two guys we're going to talk about are right up my alley. Like, one guy that I love, another guy that I have come to really like from covering him. So I'm very excited about this episode. I'm all about it.
It is. It's a very Stephen Thompson filled episode. It's a good one. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on a lot of it. The first guy he's been your guy. He's been your guy for a long, long time. We're going to dive into it here in a sec, but first, a quick call to action, as we've been doing. Go subscribe to our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk Clips. We're going to do a giveaway. I know I said that I would have a date today. Let's pick a date right now because we were supposed to do this before the podcast. We'll go Monday. Nick, it'd probably be me and you Monday afternoon. We're doing Monday afternoon. We'll do live. We'll give it away. We'll give away some stuff. Sounds good to me. He's shaking his head down there. I'm saying yes. We'll go Monday afternoon. Pick a time. I'm going to say 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We'll go 4 o'clock Monday. 4 o'clock Monday. Everybody, before you get out of work, jump on the live stream. We'll give away some stuff. It'll be a beautiful time. Check that out. youtube.com/All Steelers Talk Clips. Steven, you've been on this guy for a long time. Long time. This has been your dude since before the college football season ended. You personally convinced me without even trying to convince me to waste so much money on this guy to win a national championship game. So much so that, I haven't bet since. I have not bet on a college football game, or really, I guess I did. We're snowed in Buffalo. We bet a lot. We lost a lot of money.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. But college football wise, I don't know that I've recovered. Michael Penix, Washington quarterback, Heisman finalist, guy out there that led the Huskies to a national championship appearance, that had the whole world behind him because this dude was going to be a stud, former Indiana Hoosier. He's got a top 30 visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers that seemingly came out of nowhere. Sparked the world yesterday during his pro day, running a, 4.54, 40-yard dash. Took over. Obviously, he's got a cannon of an arm, so everybody was loving that. Now it seems that the Pittsburgh Steelers are interested when they were not interested in any quarterbacks as of 24 hours ago. You hear the news? You saw the news late last night. What were your thoughts?
I was completely stunned. I was floored, man. I didn't think the Steelers were considering quarterbacks, much less one that, we were talking about this before. Everyone looks good at his pro day, but he looked good at his pro day. I think we could have, I didn't expect him to run that fast, but you knew that watching him throw on air, everyone was going to lose their minds because Michael Penix has probably the best arm in college football, or had the best arm in college football this year. But him showing some more athleticism, he is going to shoot up draft boards. He was already considered kind of a mid-second round pick. He was considered a risk, I think, just because of the injury history. He was in a really favorable system as well. He had NFL talent all around him. People don't realize, not only were you focus on the receivers, but that offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in football. He had an NFL running back behind him as well. He was surrounded by a ton of talent, but he did make the most of it. I was completely floored. I didn't think the Steelers were even considering him or considering a quarterback really at all, especially one that would go this high. but I don't know. Like, to me, my first thought was, oh, they have to think he's falling for some reason. Like, he's not anywhere near where people think that, or at least NFL teams don't consider him as highly as the rest of the draft community does, because I don't know, maybe they are going to take him with their second round pick or something like that. But that would seem like a misallocation of resources in my book.
Yeah.
Look, I love Michael Penix, but it is not a need that the Steelers need to fill with their second round picks. So that just leads me to believe, I don't think the Steelers are dumb. I think that they believe that he might fall, that there's a chance that he falls, to the third round or maybe even a little bit lower. I'm not really sure what's making them think that, especially because he comes out of his pro day looking golden. He's going to get wrapped in bubble wrap until draft day, and like he'll be fine. Like, there's nothing that really should change or like raise or lower his stock after his pro day. So I'm not sure what's changing anything. I'm not sure where he's going to fall now, but I think the Steelers have to think that there's a chance he's going to fall if they're bringing him in for a visit like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they at least thought he was going to. I don't know if they still hold that same expectation, but I think going into the pro day, they had to be thinking this dude's late second rounder, third rounder, maybe a fourth rounder because of his age. Like, maybe he is the guy that sleeps. I mean, you could think about it. At one point during this draft process, we're talking about Bo Nix being like a top 15 pick. Yeah. Now we're talking about Bo Nix. Who knows where he's going to go? Maybe it's not even in the first round. Who knows how these quarterbacks are going to fall? The top four, but everything after that's a giant question mark. Michael Penix at one point, I mean, there were mock drafts where it's like, oh, he's the 9th pick in the draft. Now it's like maybe he's a third round pick. So I agree. I think the Steelers kind of had some expectation that this guy was going to fall off their board or fall to their board a little bit. Now I don't think that's, I mean, pro days do this every time. Every quarterback we were talking about Joe Milton yesterday, me and Nick were, and we were talking about how he looked phenomenal. And like, it's like, oh, maybe he just threw himself into the fourth round. Guy's a 6th, 7th round pick a week and a half ago. That's what pro days do. I don't know if it's going to fade enough. I don't know if they scheduled this before the pro day or after the pro day, or, I don't know if somebody came up and was like, hey, that was phenomenal. You're coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have no idea. I do think that it's very interesting because, I mean, you still always have to take into account that the Pittsburgh Steelers, their 2 quarterbacks are on 1-year deals. Russell Wilson's here for a year, and as of right now, Justin Fields is here for a year. So you have no idea what's going to happen moving forward. Maybe Michael Penix is the dude that they're looking at and saying, of all the guys in the draft class, this is the most realistic. This is the one that maybe can fall to us. What's a good round for Michael? Like, if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know what I mean? You fully understand their needs. You understand where they have to go in this draft class. You have your thoughts on where they should go in this draft class. What is a good spot for Michael Penix to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers? At what point does it become not just realistic, but an okay move?
Yeah, I don't think it's before the third round. I mean, the Steelers only got 1 third-round pick. It's the 35th pick in that round.
2 third-round picks now.
Oh, 20. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I misread that. That felt like 8 years ago. But yeah, I think that like 98th overall pick, like that's probably the one that if you're going to use it, you'd have to use it there. Like I can't imagine he'd fall past that round, and I think you're only picking him if he falls to the third. I don't think he's going to be there in the fourth. I'm not sure if he's going to fall to the third, but that's where you take him. You're not taking him with the 51st in the second round either. So I don't think that 84th pick either. That, I mean, I look at it right here, and it's a 14 or 15 pick difference between their third round picks. So, but I don't know. The 84th pick feels real aggressive for a guy like Michael Penix, but I don't know. Maybe you've got kind of a second chance in that third round after that Kenny trade. So I think that's the pick that I would look at, the 98th overall pick in the third round.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, I think that the last third round, you have to address, like, you can't go, oh, okay, well, we'll just add a third quarterback. Who cares about a center or a wide receiver or a fourth an offensive tackle?
Like,
yeah, you got Kyle Allen.
Why are you discounting Kyle Allen? Why you don't think he's in the picture?
It's very true. Forgot about Kyle Allen. Totally forgot about Kyle Allen. You're right. You're adding a fourth quarterback to a team that doesn't have a true right tackle that doesn't have a center. They literally do not have a center. They still need a starting wide receiver. You probably need a slot corner. I mean, there are question marks here that are much bigger, that need to be answered much sooner than next year's quarterback situation that you may already have on your roster. I would say that's the move. Third round, 84. I don't think I'd be upset with. I don't think if I was a fan, I'd be super, oh man, I can't believe they did that. But at the same time, it depends on what those two picks were. Like if you're looking at it and going, oh, okay, we went Michael Penix, and then the Steelers don't get a wide receiver until the 4th round or the 5th round or whatever, then you're looking at it going, well, what the hell just happened? How did you end up with 4 quarterbacks and 7 wide receiver 4s, but you don't have another starter, and you don't have a slot corner? I do think there are. I think that the 3rd round is like the place where you sit and you say, okay, that's not bad. Here's what I want to talk about next. Size matters. We all know it, and it's important to remember it in times of need. I recently went to a small law firm in hopes of getting the compensation I felt I deserved. I didn't, and to this day, I still think about the money that I may have missed out on. I filled out mounds of paperwork, then waited around for what felt like forever, got phone call after phone call telling me what I did not do right in the process, and it was expensive. All to get underwhelming compensation and almost zero satisfaction. Fortunately, if you ever get seriously injured and want to file a claim, you don't have to go through the same hassle I did. Instead, you can make it way easier by finding out if you have a claim in just a few clicks on your phone and working with America's biggest injury law firm with the promise of being for the people. Here comes Morgan & Morgan, today's sponsor. Morgan & Morgan has over 1,000 attorneys working in all 50 states fighting to get their clients the money they deserve. In recent months, they've achieved verdicts for their clients, including one that is worth $26 million. That is 40 times the highest insurance offer. And they're absolutely free unless you win. I got lowballed. Don't make the same mistake I did. Fighting big companies takes a big firm. And with America's biggest injury law firm, you're ready to take on insurance companies of any size. Don't overthink it. You can start your claim in just a few clicks by following the link in our description or by going to www.forthepeople.com/allsteelers. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you have a case. And if you have, it might be worth millions. Here's the next question to that. Michael Penix is the oldest quarterback in the draft, just about the oldest quarterback in the draft. If it's not him, it might be Bo Nix. Is he a guy that you're still looking at and saying a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, he's your guy, not this year? Is that a reasonable expectation for a guy that's kind of old?
Yeah, I mean, if the Steelers are drafting him, it's definitely a year away.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this also gives me the impression that they're looking more closely at Justin Fields as a starter or as an option for this year than they were maybe before the offseason or before early when they traded for him. Because I could see the situation playing out that they give Fields a chance. They make a decision about an extension or a new contract. And if neither him or Wilson work out, like this is your backup plan. Like they're going to test both of those guys and see what they've really got and then decide, okay, well, like, I don't know. They're making those evaluations now saying, okay, do we need a real backup plan for the coming years? And this would be a decent way to lock up the future of your quarterback position if you're not thinking that if for some reason you don't think that Fields and Wilson are going to have opportunities there. So I could see that situation playing out. I could see Penix then getting a chance after a year if you don't think that Fields or Wilson have it. It would definitely be a down the road thing. I think that might be true for wherever Bo Nix
and somebody just mow the lawn 4 feet from me here.
I didn't hear it honestly before you mentioned it, to be quite honest with
you. Literally right behind me. Like, these mics are phenomenal. Shout out. Sure. Phenomenal.
Sure.
Let me ask this though, because you said that you said you don't think that it solidifies the Steelers' plans, and maybe they kind of view like, okay, we have to have the next thing ready. Do you have to have the next thing ready this season? You know, like, do you have to have the next guy, if Justin Fields doesn't work out, already on your roster in 2024?
Not necessarily, but I think this is an easy way to lock that up, I guess. Because I mean, if you're, I don't know, you don't really know what your options are going to be next year. The quarterback class is pretty thin, at least from this, like as we stand right now. Like there aren't a number of high level prospects going into next year's draft, but this year you've got a pretty deep quarterback class. Like the fact that Michael Penix is falling to the third or the fourth round, the fact that we're even talking about that, I think tells you how deep this quarterback class is. So I think there's some logic behind taking a quarterback from this class as opposed to waiting and just trying to pick something out of the pile next year. That's the way I would look at it.
Yeah, I agree. How loud is this guy right now? Loud? Going away. I think
Not
he's listening
super.
to me.
Yeah, he's getting closer the more you talk to him. The more you talk about him.
He came around the corner. I'm telling you. So this is for anybody who doesn't know Florida. I know we're getting a little bit off topic here. I don't know why, but everybody has like 4 million people at their house at all times. It's crazy. Like I've not slept past 6 o'clock because people knock on the door and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to start working on your house." And I'm like, "I don't live here, but okay, sounds good." Guy peeks around the corner, looks at me, goes, and walks away. And I was like, "Okay, thanks, appreciate it." So I think he at least knows that I'm sitting here. Shout out. Hopefully he's a fan of All Steelers Talk. You make a really good point with the quarterback class next year, where like you have like your guys, like your top of the Steelers aren't going to get a top pick. They're not going to get a first quarterback or a second quarterback. So if you don't know your plans and if you're not willing to take that risk, that makes a lot of sense. That you're looking at it and going, you know, why would we wait? Like it's the complete opposite of the Kenny Pickett thing. Whereas you drafted Kenny Pickett when everybody said, stop, this is the bad draft class. Next year's another Kenny Pickett draft class and it's better than Kenny Pickett's draft class, but it's very top heavy. And you look at it and you go, okay, like, you know, maybe your options aren't going to be there in 2025. That's a really good point. I don't know. It's confusing. The Steelers threw a wrench in this one. The Steelers definitely threw a wrench in I think everybody's expectations for their draft plans as of right now. Where they go for this, I think more interesting is where does Michael Penix end up by the time April 27th rolls around? Like, is he a first round pick? Is he a definite second round pick? Is he maybe going to be in the third? Does the hype fade and he's now back to where he originally is? I think that's where we look at this, and that's where the conversation goes next, because as of right now, you could just kind of assume like the Steelers, they like him, but I don't think anybody has any idea where this guy's going to go.
Yeah, because I mean, we're going to spend going on 15 minutes talking about this, and you know, by April 27th,
yeah, it could
not even matter. Like it could just be it could be the 30th top 30 visit that the Steelers have, and where it doesn't even end up mattering, you know, that he was even on their radar to begin with. So who really knows? Like there's such a wide range of where Michael Penix can go.
Exactly. But it's a good preliminary, I can never say that word right, conversation, because it's very interesting that they tossed that out there as early as they did. More NFL draft talk, but also veteran. Patrick Peterson has been very open that he's cool with coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, most recently saying in an interview with Fox that, you know, him and his agent have talked to a couple of teams, and as of right now, they feel that near the NFL draft is when they'll probably make a decision on where he'll end up. Mike Tomlin at the 2024 NFL meeting said, quote, "We're open to it as well. But, you know, there's so much business in front of us, and we just felt it was appropriate to be transparent with him, to give him an opportunity to assess what's out there in totality." Open to returning to the Pittsburgh Steelers is Patrick Peterson. The Steelers are open for him to return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He once said, we've talked about this, that he's only open to coming back if he is a starter, not a backup. You're not coming back to Pittsburgh as a starter, maybe as a slot guy. Do you view Patrick Peterson as an option in the slot? Do you think it's cool to bring him back at this point in the season or in the offseason? And do you think it's do you think it's really going to happen? I feel like it's a lot of talk right now, a lot of questions.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of talk, mostly on Patrick Peterson's side, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm sure he is open to coming back to the Steelers, and I'm sure the Steelers would have him back at a certain price. But again, like you said this before we got on, they were the ones that cut him. And I don't think, Mike Tomlin's being pretty kind with his comments, I think, saying
Yeah.
that they were giving him an opportunity to assess what's out there. I, NFL teams don't cut guys just out of the kindness of their heart and saying like, "Oh, you could go get more money somewhere else, so we're going to let you do that." Yeah, I don't know. I don't look at it as a super viable option. I mean, the Steelers have replaced him 2 times over as both a safety and a cornerback. They've gotten a cornerback, they've gotten a safety. I mean, corner you can talk about it definitely is more of an open question. I mean, the Steelers
Yeah.
do need a corner still, but I mean, do you think like is Pat Pete beating out Dante Jackson to
No
play?
chance.
Yeah, is Pat Pete quick enough to play slot corner? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's a better option than someone you could get in the draft, to be quite honest. And so I just don't really see where the fit is here for Patrick Peterson. And he says he has offers from other teams. He's been talking to other teams. And so I just don't know if the fit is here with the Steelers for him. I don't know if the Steelers can give him what he wants. So it might just not really work out for either side. Like I don't see how it would benefit anyone, like literally either side, for these two to get back together.
Look, I agree. I don't think there's all this talk about Patrick Peterson's got to play safety. Maybe he plays the slot. If Patrick Peterson plays the slot, you can never rush your slot corner again because we were sitting there in Buffalo, dude. We watched it happen. I pointed it out to you. Pat P comes off the edge, playing the slot, hits Josh Allen, and bounces off of him like a small child just ran into a wall. It wasn't even close to a tackle. He can't tackle. And I get it. Like Patrick Peterson, there's a level of you have to acknowledge that Patrick Peterson is a Hall of Famer, possible
Absolutely.
generational talent, 100%. He's going to be 34 years old when the season starts. At some point in your career, you don't hold the value that you once did, and the Steelers have to go young. And last year, it made sense to have a transitional guy for a guy like Joey Porter Jr. You don't need transitional guys anymore. You have 2 veterans in Joey Porter and in Dante Jackson who are proven starters in the NFL. Those are the guys you're going to rock with. Patrick Peterson comes in here. Maybe he could play the slot, but you're very limited on what he can do. I think he'd work well if he could tackle, and you could use him as a versatile option. But I just think right now he doesn't hold the value that he believes he holds. And a team looking for a starter, cool, that makes a lot of sense. Go get Patrick Peterson, play his zone defense, and he could work out. The Steelers don't play zone, and they need somebody who could tackle off the edge, and that's not him.
He doesn't. Patrick Peterson.
Yeah,
he doesn't. Like 2 of his biggest weaknesses. So
exactly, he doesn't fit either one of them. So I just don't think. I don't think it happens. I don't think it could happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think you go a different direction. And to be totally honest, I think that there's a better shot, okay, at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I've thought about this for like all day yesterday. I was, I was making sure my thoughts were good while in the pool because that's where you think best.
Right.
And I was like, I really believe that the Steelers it's more likely that the Pittsburgh Steelers do something crazy, like sign Justin Simmons and allow him to play safety and move Deshaun Elliott to the nickel than re-signing Patrick Peterson. And I'm not saying that's likely to happen because it's not. I'm saying that in the list of options, I would put that above re-signing Patrick Peterson because it makes a lot more sense for the Steelers and it just works way better. I just think I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that, like you mentioned, like that is completely unlikely, and it is still more likely than them re-signing Patrick Peterson.
Exactly.
Like that should tell you a lot about Patrick Peterson and where that situation stands.
Exactly. There is another name, MJ Devonshire, Marlon Devonshire. We're only referring him to, I am at least, only referring to him as Marlon on this podcast because that's a phenomenal name. That guy should, when he goes to the NFL, wish him all the luck in the world. He's a good guy. I hope that he only goes as Marlon because if he goes down as one of the greatest corners of all time, Marlon Devonshire that's the Ken Griffey of football. That's the name that you're gonna be like, I remember that one. I'll always remember that one. MJ
Yeah.
Devonshire, Devonshire, top, or I guess it's a local visit, so it doesn't count against the top 30 visits. Pre-draft visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You were at his pro day yesterday. You covered him for the last three seasons at Pitt. Former Kentucky guy, local kid out of Aliquippa. Where do you see him going in the NFL draft? And is he a guy? I mean, he's got a lot of interceptions, couple of touchdowns in college. Is he a dude that you believe is capable of transitioning to the NFL?
I do. I do. I mean, so he's got great speed. Like you said, he's a ball hawk as well. I think he would fit really well as a slot corner. He's not particularly big, neither height nor weight, but he's got some nice long arms. He's sticky in coverage. I like MJ. I think MJ has really, really impressed a lot of people with his kind of physical attributes at the combine and at his pro day. And then you turn on the film, and he had a rough kind of start to the season, first third or so of the season last year, but
Yeah.
he's been a number one corner for the past 2 seasons and played really well for the most part in that position. So I'm interested to see how he would fit as an inside guy, like how that positional transition works for him, because it is different, especially at the NFL level, going from almost exclusively an outside guy. Like he hasn't really played slot for Pitt at all. Pitt doesn't really have slot corners, only in like certain packages, or one certain package really. So he doesn't really have a ton of experience there, but I think that he has the skill set that that would fit as a slot corner. With that said, you're not drafting a slot corner with a super particularly high pick in Devonshire. I think Devonshire is a good player, but it doesn't seem like his draft stock is particularly high. I think you could start to look at him like, maybe end of the 4th round, 5th round, probably 5th or 6th round, probably. I think he's better than a 7th. Like he's not an afterthought in that sense, but I think a 6th or a 5th is probably the ideal place for him. And if you're the Steelers, you don't have a 5th round pick.
No, you do have
you do have a 6th round pick. You got a high 6th round pick. That's probably where you'd start to think about him. It's just tough where the Steelers are at, quite honestly, because that 4th round pick is relatively, I mean, it's the 19th pick in that round, but it's, I don't know, that would feel like a reach for Devonshire. Like he'd have to really impress some folks, I think, to get that high. But if you can grab him in the 6th round, I think that's a steal, and that's a great fit for the Steelers in that round.
Do you think that he's NFL ready to start if you get him in the 6th? In the slot?
Yeah, I think so. I think the slot is limited enough, and like you could take a little bit off his plate. Like it's not like, like they didn't even throw Joey Porter out there, week 1 as a starter. So, but I think you can take a little bit off his plate and moving him to the slot. Like I said, I think he has the skill set to fit there. There would be some growing pains. Like the one knock against him was that his tackling isn't great, and that's just because of his frame. But I mean, I think you can put a little bit of weight on him, and I think you can improve that. So I think between the speed, and he's got great coverage skills and ball skills, I think it would work. There would be some growing pains, but you would figure it out, I think.
That's very interesting. I love the addition of Devonshire. I think he's got a ton of potential. I enjoyed watching him at Pitt. I think he's got the ball skills, and I think that's really important. Is the Steelers haven't had an inside corner with ball skills in a long time. I mean, a long time. And like Mike Hilton was good, but Mike Hilton didn't have the ball skills. He's a good corner. Didn't come up with the interceptions that you hoped he did. And I loved Mike Hilton. Shannon Sullivan, I don't know, like had some, but I think he had 1 interception last season. Like you're looking for a guy with ball skills. You could bulk up a corner. Joey Porter couldn't tackle either. So
Right.
if you could teach them, if they're willing to, that's the difference. Is Patrick Peterson ain't willing to tackle. There's a difference. Joey Porter's willing to tackle. He just can't do it. And if you could teach somebody to tackle, I think that's an interesting name to watch. I think if they can add somebody else, like if they could add a veteran in free agency somehow, like a lower end veteran who could start, and then Devonshire could kind of be that a better Elijah Riley, a guy who could come in here and like actually contribute to the defense, be a special teamer as a 6th round pick. And then maybe you're working in Darius Rush, who's an option in the inside. Now you got a group of young corners, and I get they're all late, but a group of young corners that you could kind of develop into that next group long term. I think that's a very interesting name for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. Do you think his what did he run at his pro day? You know,
He didn't run a 40, but I think he had a 4.43 at the combine.
that's pretty good. 4.43 is pretty fantastic. You know, that's not you're not complaining about a 4.43. I'm all about it. I like the addition of Devonshire. Do you think that's real interest from the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I do. I think it's convenient that they can take a local guy in for a visit, but
Yeah.
he fits what they need. And I think they've gotten a look at him up close and personal. I think they know this guy pretty well. So
I mean, when it comes to being local, like, doesn't he have, better than I do, doesn't he have connections with like Darrelle Revis and Ty Law and those guys?
yeah, I think Revis is his cousin, I want to say.
Yeah.
But at the very least, Revis and Law are like mentors to him. Like they are hitting him up all the time. Like those are Aliquippa guys. Like people forget, like Aliquippa, like has at least 3 Hall of Famers.
Yep, they produce.
Come out of there. It's like Tony Dorsett, Revis, and Ty Law. But yeah, those guys have been like mentors to him forever. Those guys are like ever since MJ was a kid and when he first started playing football. So he will have all of the support in the world. And there's a pedigree not just from Aliquippa, but Pitty B's. Like you look at the track record of Pitty B's not only getting drafted to the NFL, but honestly getting drafted late and really making themselves into productive players like Avonte Maddox from the Eagles, Dane Jackson, now with the Panthers, was with the Bills for a while. Jason Pinnock, I think he's with the Giants now. There's a long history of Pitt players outplaying their draft status or their draft stock.
Yep, I agree. I think that'd be a cool move. Definitely a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll add him to the draft board 100%. The Pittsburgh Steelers look like they have as well. It's real interesting to see where this cornerback role goes, because that is, if you're looking at center, there's limited options, but there's options out there. There's really like almost no options, but all the options at the same time when it comes to a slot cornerback and really corner 3. So it's an interesting position to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm excited that a local kid with a lot of talent is now on that list. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, check all of our workout at si.com/NFL.Steelers and si.com/college/Pittsburgh. Remember, Monday, where are we going, Nick? 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, we're going live. We're going to give away Mean Joe Green jersey, couple of things. Maybe I'll convince Steven to come on, and we'll answer some questions as well. With that said, I'm heading back to the Berg. Enjoy another beautiful day. Peace.